Alright everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jay Boo. In this video, we'll be taking apart this pot of Portulacaria afra, or Dwarf Jades. It's a little bit of a different variety than what I typically work with, but overall it's pretty much the same thing. I got this at Lowe's in the clearance section for about $7, which is not that bad of a deal at all. I'm assuming there's probably about 9 or 10 individual plants in here. And so yeah, we're going to be taking it apart, pruning the plants a little bit, and repotting them, and then after that we'll just have to watch them grow. So yeah, let's get into the video. Alright, so I'm going to start off with a view of what it looks like before I take it apart. You can see this is honestly quite a mess, and I'm sure you can see there are some dead parts, but there's really no need to worry about these. You know, we'll just cut those off because majority of the plants are healthy. So yeah, I'm going to skip past me taking these plants apart because it does take a little bit and it's not very entertaining in my opinion. And I'll come back when I have each of the plants separated. Alright guys, so moving into our first plant here, I chose one that isn't as nice as the rest of them just because its main branch is broken, so there's really no point in keeping that. What I plan on doing with this one is just cutting it right about here and making it a little short, so that's what I'm going to do. So it doesn't look very nice right now, but you know, that's kind of just a part of the process. Eventually new shoots will come out of here and it'll look better in the future, of course, but as of right now it's not very nice. But that's our first plant. All right guys, so moving on to our second plant. With this one I'm thinking we kind of just have a canopy up here and maybe a layer down here, so I'm just going to shape it to where I'll be able to get that. So I'm going to start by giving it a cut here, and this has a bunch of new shoots coming out all around already. There's one here, and one back here. So we'll have this fill out, and this branch will also fill out to help create the canopy. And then over here I'm going to trim it back to about here, and I'll just allow this to fill out and create a layer. And as for these branches in the middle, or at least this one is kind of useless right now because it's just going to be growing into, you know, this branch right here. So I'm just going to cut this one off as well. And as of right now, I think that's how I'm going to leave it. We'll just let it grow out now and we'll see how it progresses. Alright, so moving on to probably the most promising one, we have this one. So what I'm thinking of doing with this one is, since it has such a nice base, I'll probably just make a big canopy and, you know, kind of just let it be a little tree. And so what I'm going to start off by doing is cutting it right about here. So I'll cut it right about here just to start it off. And then I'll cut it maybe about... I'll cut it right about here, and then I'll cut this one right about here. This one in the back I'm gonna trim back to, actually I'll just let that one grow because it has a bunch of new shoots, but I will trim this back, and this one, and this one. And then so far we have this, and then I'm gonna trim this back to about here just for now, see how that looks. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. So now, and so looking at the back, you can see there are some branches that also need to be trimmed, so I'm just gonna trim them back to about here. And then this one I'll trim back to about here. And this one I'm going to go ahead and trim back to about here for now. And then this one in here I'm going to trim back to... I'm actually just going to cut this one off completely. And I'm doing that because we already have this branch up here, so this one would just be growing into this one. I'm actually gonna trim this one back just a little bit, maybe to about right. Okay, what's going on here? Okay, I can't get in there. All right, right about here. And yeah, I'm thinking that's looking all right for now. Like I said, I'm kind of just gonna let this one fill out, and I'll do some more trimming as needed. Just gonna kind of trim some of these side branches off, ones that I don't need. And yeah, so just gonna let this one fill out. I'll do more trimming as I need to, but for now I think that'll be all right. Alright guys, so moving on to our next plant, I'm thinking of making this one a cascade just because of how it's formed. So I'd probably plant this part back here and then leave this part hanging off. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm planning. So I'm just gonna trim it a little bit. I'll cut it right about here and right about here. And now it's a little shorter, but it will fill out a little better. And then I'm also thinking I want a canopy at the top. So I'm gonna cut it right about here. And we'll just allow this to fill out. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this plant. Hopefully fills out nice. All right, so moving on to this plant. This plant is a little strange because it has whatever this is. But what I'm planning on this one is to make some sort of kind of raft with it, a raft with like a couple of canopies. So what I'm going to start off by doing is cutting it right about here, and then I'll have these branches come out. I think I'm going to take this kind of just dead branch off because it's really not serving any kind of purpose. So I'm going to take that one off. And then over here, I would like a canopy to come out over here. So I'm going to trim this one back to about here. So you can see I'll have a canopy coming out over here. And then I'll have, hopefully, branches will grow out of here eventually. And I already have this branch coming out. So that'll kind of be my raft area. And then over here, I'm going to trim this one back to about here. And then I'll trim this one back to about here. And we'll kind of just let this fill out as a canopy as well. I'm going to cut this branch off because it's completely useless. It's broken. And this branch... Actually, this branch... no, this branch. This branch I'll cut off as well because, I don't know, I don't really like it. So, okay, and this branch. So now you can kind of see the design I'm going for. I'll have a canopy coming out over here, a canopy coming out over here, and then hopefully new shoots will come out of here, and I'll have a raft on here. And that's pretty much it for this plant. All right, so moving on to our next plant. This one is pretty nice as well. I'm planning on planting it like this to have this come straight up and then this kind of come off to the side. And so what I'm going to start off by doing is I'm going to trim it back to about here for now, just to kind of get it started. And then this one, I'm going to plan on having a canopy fill out over here, and then I'll just have a layer over here, something like that. It looks like this branch is broken, so I'm going to just take this one off because I don't really see the point in needing it. So take that one off, and it will be replaced by these branches right here, so there's really no need to worry about it. I'm gonna actually take this branch back to about here, and we'll just see how that grows out. Now moving forward, on this side, I'm gonna trim this back just for now to about here. And with all of this mess up here, I'm gonna trim it back to about here for now. And this one I'm gonna trim equally back to about here. This needs to get trimmed, so I'm gonna trim it back about here just for now, just so I can get a better visualization if I could ever. Okay, this is a problem. All right, there we go. And then this one I'm gonna go ahead and trim back to about here for now. This we're gonna trim back to about here. That was off camera, I think. Oops. This one I'm gonna trim back to about here. This one about here. And then we're kind of just gonna let this up here fill out a little bit. I'll trim anything I don't need in here. This is a little, actually I'll trim this one to about right here. And then I'm gonna trim these back a little more too. Right about here and right about here. So now you can kind of get a better visualization of what I'm going for, hopefully. So yeah, I'll hopefully have a canopy kind of coming out over here. This I don't really think I need because it's kind of just in the way. I'm not really going to be using it, so I'm going to go ahead and trim this one off as well. Alright, there we go. This one can come off. This one can come off. This one can also come off. And then I'll trim this one. I'm going to cut it back to where there is a node, just in case it grows out and it looks nice. And then this is growing down, so we never want downward growth. We're gonna just cut this off. Again, downward growth down here, right here. So trim this off, we don't want downward growth. And then again over here, downward growth, downward growth. And for now, I'm gonna let this fill out. Hopefully I have a canopy over here. And then over here, I'm gonna cut this off because, actually I'll cut it back. No, I'll cut it pretty far back. And then over here, I'm gonna, I guess I'll cut it back to about, I don't know, maybe, I guess here. And then I'll trim this back to here. And I'm kind of just going to let this fill out now. So, I'll get rid of this downward growing branch. We don't need the plant to put any energy into that, no point. And for now, I'm going to let this fill out. Like I said, I'm going to kind of plant it to where this comes straight up and this is off to the side. So we'll have a canopy and then a layer. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this plant. All right, guys, so welcome back. It is a new day, so we're just going to get straight into it. This is our next plant. This one, the plans that I have for it, since it has these two big nice trunks coming up right here, I'm planning on just giving it a little canopy up top and just letting it fill out. So to start, I'm going to cut it down to about here. I'm just going to go ahead and say bye-bye to that part. And then I'm just basically going to give it a good trim now. As you can see, this is just way too long. I'm going to cut it down to about here just for now. We can always cut it later. Let's see. I'm going to trim this down to about here. And then over here, I'm just going to trim it down to about here. Definitely want to trim this branch about here. This one definitely needs to be trimmed, probably down to like here. I don't really see the point in keeping this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and trim it. These two, I really don't see the point in keeping them. They're not really what I'm going for, so I'm just gonna trim them. Like I said, I kind of just want a canopy on the top, so trim this back to about here. This is dead. Take this off. So you can kind of see the shape I'm going for, hopefully. Trim some of these little ones in here, don't really need that. But yeah, that's basically all that I'm gonna do for now. Now we kind of just have to wait for it to fill out. And we'll kind of keep trimming from there. I'm just gonna keep trimming these back a little bit. Like I said, you can always trim something later, but yeah, that's pretty much it for this for now. We'll just let this one fill out and see how it grows. Alright guys, so on to our next plant here. This one is looking perfect for a raft style. So that's what I'm gonna try my best to make it. With these two branches right here, I'm planning on making like a little layer, so we'll have this one a little taller, and then I'm gonna cut this one down to about here or here. So let's go ahead and just get started. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this one down to about here, just to give it a little more character, I guess. And then I'm basically just gonna trim this one down a little bit, and that'll kind of be all we do for this plant for now. We just kind of gotta let it fill out from here. So yep, that'll be it for now. We just kind of gotta let it fill out. And yeah. Alright, so I do have them all potted up now. As you can clearly tell, they're not the best looking right now, but trust me, it's just a part of the process. They'll look good eventually. You just gotta, keep up with the updates and see how they progress and grow. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of the video. See ya.